Hey, and welcome. I'm going to show you how you can build really just in Canvas in the elementary Canvas interface, but specifically if you are wanting to see some tips and suggestions for what to do for an e-learning lesson in Canvas, I'm going to show you that. So I will say my biggest bit of advice when it comes to designing your e-learning lessons for a virtual learning day in VCSE, if you're an elementary teacher, is try to keep it as simple as possible for students to get to the materials. The more direct it is on your homepage, if you want to set your e-learning lesson as your homepage, that's probably best, just so you can avoid any confusion, because the more clicks and steps it gets to something, the more opportunity for a student to fall behind or get confused. So with that being said, if you have questions about just some of the general expectations for the e-learning days, I do have a recording on my YouTube that I can also share directly with you that walks through some of just the expectations and needs to knows. The big thing is that e-learning expectations are consistent now from K through 6 at the elementary level. It's really the same expectation as K through 12. So students will bring home their device and need to have some lessons on Canvas, and Canvas is that common point for students to turn in their work and access their materials and connect with you. So when we are in our Canvas class, like we see right here, right now, you have a couple different things I'm going to point out that might be helpful to consider for the e-learning day. So this space right above where your homepage technically is called an announcement. So announcements on Canvas are, like they suggest, it's a big short-term type of blurb. The intent behind announcements is that it's quick information for students, and it's not something that you necessarily want to keep there permanently. Students can click on announcement. You can put all types of media on an announcement. So if I click here, I can show you that. You can put all different types of content because you have this rich content editor. So Google Drive files, whatever have you. So I could technically build my e-learning lesson here if I really wanted to, because it almost acts as a page. But the only thing I will say is that if you go and you start to post other announcements, these are tricky for students to find. So this is not easy for students to go back to and easily locate in the future. So I would say maybe just post on your announcement page that this is where welcome, like we're having an e-learning day, read below for more information. But I don't know if I would necessarily build my entire e-learning lesson there, just because the only way that students can get to that e-learning lesson is by clicking these arrows. And if you heavily use this tool, then it's going to be several steps for them to go and do that. And students have 3 days after an e-learning day to do that work. So you still want to make sure they can easily get back to whatever page or resource that you build here. And it's not a lot of going through different steps and clicks to get there. So maybe just in this space, I would add a blurb saying, hey, we're having e-learning day. It's helpful if you make a video of yourself explaining e-learning expectations and what students will be doing that day. So this is a perfect place where I can do that. If I'm wanting to make a video of myself, it might act a little wonky right now because I'm using my video with you to record this video while talking about a video. I can go here, upload and record video. So I can record right here if I want. If you're wanting to record your screen, you can't do that within Canvas, but I can record using Screencastify. That's this button up here at the top of my toolbar. Every VCSE teacher has access to Screencastify Unlimited. So you have unlimited recording. You can use the editing tool, and it can record your tab, your entire desktop, or your webcam. And those automatically save to your Google Drive. So once those are saved, I can come over here to this little Google Drive button and then embed that video right there, should I need to. All right, so that's how I would use the announcement page for an e-learning day, is just to say, hey, we're having an e-learning day, read more below, watch my video, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Next place is probably where you have your consistent homepage in Canvas. So this is probably where you have a similar look to mine. Maybe you have your elementary curriculum resources, other resources and things that you have set up, and buttons and those pieces. So you have a couple of options in how you can do this. If you're wanting to keep your e-learning lesson pretty simple, pretty straightforward, then maybe you just add onto this homepage e-learning information. And when the e-learning day has passed, make a copy of this page, call that page e-learning, and just keep it off in a different space. So that would be one really easy way to do this. So I could go here. And maybe I name this, I delete some of my content and my pieces. All right, let's say I don't want all of these icons and things right here. I want my curriculum resources towards the top. So helpful hints and things here. You can increase your real estate space to work with here in Canvas with this little dot button if you click and drag, or you can go into full screen mode. I prefer full screen mode because I like to be able to see where I'm writing and where all my stuff is, and I don't have the best eyesight. So that's just me. Okay. So if I wanted to select some of this and move it around, can copy that and then delete those items. And then if I wanted this to be all in the same row, you can kind of mess around with your spacing and pieces there. And then I can paste those links back where they were. So I was just using keyboard shortcuts. Control C is copy, Control V is paste. Now it is a little tricky whenever you're highlighting over these pictures because it's really hard to tell that you've highlighted. So if you see this little blue line right here, it means I've selected those. So just a little bit of tinkering there if you would like. Okay. So added those in. And then maybe here at the top is where I write out our instructions for today. Not going to be in bold. So the cool thing here is that you have lots of options. So again, you can make a video of yourself explaining. The key thing to know is that on your page here for an e-learning day, make sure that you have information about what students are supposed to be doing. So type out the learning goals, type out the instructions, and kind of make it clear on this is what I expect you to be doing, and this is how you can contact me. So include some information for how students can get in touch with you. All right, so we have that typed out. Okay, so I have that out there. Have my instructions, maybe for reading. And again, you all will have more really specific ones than what I'm doing right here. I'm just making this up as I go. And then for math, and then all right, so we have some of those things built out. Okay, so in Canvas, what we're working on right now is a page. So you're probably familiar with pages because of your Canvas homepage, and it's really easy for us to add icons and pictures and things. So you already have your curriculum resources there. If I wanted to look at this link and copy it, I can do Control A, Control C to copy that link. And all I did was I just right-clicked on this and I clicked link options. So if I wanted to give an additional reminder to my students on this is where you're going to go. I am a fan of over communicating instructions and over linking things multiple times, just so I have that extra reminder for students and maybe one more place where they can click and end up to where they're supposed to be. So same thing for this one. I can go to link options, grab that link for Eureka, paste it on here however I would like. And I do external link because this is not a link for something within Canvas. This is a link to our outside curriculum resources. Okay, now for this next one where we have this science module in Canvas, I'm going to show you a little bit more of Canvas's bells and whistles that you can use on an e-learning day and show you some of the features that are there. So technically, actually, for this module right here, I'm not going to set this up in the same way, this link. I'm going to come up here to the top where it says course link, because I've already built out this module. And I think I actually had to move out of full screen mode to do this. So I'm going to go course link. And I actually built out this module already. So this is giving me a course link in Canvas, shows me everything I've already built out in this course. So I'm not building to an external website. I am selecting an item that I've already built in Canvas. So for this one, I already made a module here called Endangered Species. So I'm going to select that. And then the link highlights and then it turns blue over here where my space is. I'm going to close this. And as you can see, this is now set up as a link. And if I click link options, it'll show a Canvas link. All right, shows me where it was. All right, so have that built out. I would make sure that, again, you add your video here, your information, your instructions for students. And whenever I'm finished editing this page, I'm just going to click save. All right, so I have added this to my homepage. There's some information here. It's nice if you have a video here at the top, just because that creates a nice little tone for your students for the day and adds some familiarity for them, especially if you're teaching our primary grade students and they need to have those verbal cues and reminders. I would say also just to use icons throughout this if you can. We already have some built out here for curriculum resources, but if you wanted to add in more icons for telling the students to play a video, to click somewhere, Canvas actually has an icon builder. So it is up here on this toolbar. It's beside this document button. So if I wanted to create an icon, I just click create icon maker, and then I can go through, decide the shape of my icon. If I want it to be outlined, if I want there to be text on it, and then I can either add an image or I can pull from images that Canvas has already. So here's some of the different ones that they have. So if I want them to watch a video, I could find that icon. You can go through and see some of these different ones. So just some options there, or I can upload my own picture if I have one to make an icon. So kind of makes it more of that like app or touchscreen experience for students if you include some of those icons. It's another way to kind of build that common language and make navigation that much easier. Okay. So for right now, we're just editing our traditional Canvas homepage. So in the future, whenever this e-learning day is passed and I don't want all this e-learning information to be on here, what I would do if I were you is if I go back to my subject home, so imagine that, the 3 days after the e-learning day have passed, we're all good, we're all done for the day. I'm going to go back here like I'm editing this page, and let's say I want to delete off all of that e-learning stuff. Before I do that, let's imagine that I'm just viewing this page. So the other way you can get to this is by doing manage subject at the top of your screen and going to pages, because your page will be there. And what we edited here was the home page, and because it says subject home at the top. So let's say I don't want to lose all of this stuff that I've typed out, but I need to change this home page back to something that's not an e-learning day, so it's not confusing for my students. If I click this 3-dot button, I can copy this page. And what I would do is, that's actually not what I'm going to do. What we're going to do is actually come over here to view all pages. My mistake. All right. And we're going to click duplicate. Okay. Sorry. The other way I showed you could have done, but it would have been about 4 or 5 more clicks. So if I go to pages, view all pages, this is the page here that we had added our e-learning day lesson to. So I'm going to duplicate that. And what I would do is edit this page and just say, imagine we had an e-learning day today. And then save it. Make sure that it is published. So now I can come back to this original homepage and I can delete all of my e-learning stuff off of it if I want. But I already have a copy here, and these copies are not tied to each other. So when I duplicate something in Canvas, it is its own unique copy. It's not going to reflect any edits of the original, which is kind of nice in this instance. So I have my e-learning day page here with all that information. I have my original curriculum resources page here that I edited, but I can now go back in and remove all that e-learning stuff and still maintain my home page without having to go through and manipulate changing the pages and all that stuff. Okay, so what's nice though is you just need to make sure that this is published so students can get to it. But the way that you can make this obvious for students to get to is to add it into a module, because it's a little tricky for students to get to this view all pages screen on their end. So what I would do is if I would go back to my manage subject, and if you were familiar with eLearning, our former learning management system, then you probably use folders to organize your e-learning lessons, your content, all of the things that you did. Or you probably made a bunch of pages and then there was a folder that all of those pages were within. So there's not technically folders in Canvas, but there's a tool that acts exactly the same way. It's just called modules. And you'll see that button here across the top of your screen. So what you can do is we can make that e-learning lesson and put it in a module just called e-learning. So then it's easy for the students to get to. So if I go to modules, this is kind of what it looks like right now. So I already have some built out, and you might have some plugged into your course already that were templates that have some tech resources for students, including guides for how to use Canvas. It might be helpful on an e-learning day. And here was that science module that I told you I had already made. So what I can do is if I want to make a new module and I want to put that e-learning page in there, which is really what I would recommend so that it's easy for students to get to past an e-learning day should they need to, I'll click module. We can just call this e-learning day 11/23. Okay, and I'll add it. And whenever you add a module in Canvas, it always puts it at the bottom. So what I do is I don't like having to scroll and scroll and scroll. Maybe I'm impatient. But if something is recent, or if I want it to be eye-catching and stand out to the student, I'm going to move that to the top of my page. So it's really easy to move these things around. I just clicked and dragged. The other way that you can do this is if I click the 3-dot button, move module, and I can move it up and down however I would like. Okay, so I have this e-learning day module here, and all I'm going to do is just add that page to this module. Okay. So I'll click the plus button over here on the right-hand side. This is how we add things to the module. Right here is where you can add in files that are saved onto your computer. So if you have any PDFs, Word files, or videos, you can add them here. But for this instance, we're just going to add in that page that we had built. So it's easy for students to get to after the fact. So if I click this plus button, I'll come up here to this drop-down where it says page. All right, and I'm going to see all kinds of pages here because I've been building several of them. But the one I'm going to look for was that one that we called 11/23 e-learning. Ah, there it is. It was hiding from me. It was at the top. So I'm going to do e-learning day, and I'm going to add the item. And so this page is published, but we need to make sure that this module is published as well. So publish module in all items. That's basically the equivalent of the eLearning lingo of making things active or visible to the student. And if you ever come across an error message where your students are saying that something isn't available or they can't access it or access is denied, that means that that resource, page, assignment, module has not been published. So you can view it as a teacher, but the students can't view it. So just always make sure there's that green check mark beside everything that you do. Okay. So there we go. I have my e-learning module all built out there. That page is there. It's easy for students to access. So that is just something really simple you can do for an e-learning day, is make your page, build out your lesson there if you would like, link out to other places, and you're set. So let's imagine that you want to add in a little bit more than what we have already. So let's say that for an e-learning day, in addition to going to those different websites and accessing curriculum resources, that students need to turn in an assignment on Canvas, and you want to build things out a little bit differently. So here's an example of one way that you can do this. I'm going to show you two ways. So you can make an assignment in Canvas. It's pretty easy. The more complex way of what I did here to show you a little bit more of how you can set up an e-learning lesson to where it's very step-by-step and self-guided for students, which might be a better fit for you, is building a module that guides students through all of the learning resources and then their related assignments connected to that. Okay. So I just went through and I built a module. Okay. And when I made this module, all I did was just, this is the science one I was talking about. So I clicked the plus button, and the first thing I did was just add in a text header. And this just breaks up the content. So the example that you see right here where it says Canvas example, and then I have my engage. So this kind of gets students getting going first. So maybe I actually name this step 1, engage. Step 2, choose 2. Step 3, explain. Step 4, apply. If you want to chunk it like that, it's nice. These little text headers don't really do anything other than just break up the content. There's nothing for students to click or interact on those. That's really just to break up your module. So modules in Canvas really are like that self-guided step-by-step learning resource. So if I click into any item in a module, if I start a module in Canvas, this is what it looks like for the teacher, and then I'll show you the student view. So here's just an overview on what the students are going to be doing. We have our goal written out here. We have the overview of their lesson. And at the bottom of the screen, there's always this next button. So it really just guides them through step by step, which can be really helpful for some of our littles who might need a little bit more assistance on where to go. And you can even add in like little arrows to tell them to continue to the next screen and to click that button. Okay. So what's cool is that Canvas for the elementary view also even tells you what the next thing is that's coming up if you hover over this button. So if I click next, all right, then my students watch a video about habitats. Okay, and if you're wondering how I built these items, I will show you that really quickly. I just want to show you a few more steps on this. So this is what the students would see. If I ever wanted to go in and change anything here, I just click edit as the teacher, but I always like to preview my content before I make it available to students. And go on through, and then this is the next part where students can explore a little bit more. And we just keep going through, we just keep clicking next. This is where they can read. I added some nice pictures in those pieces. Click next. Right, keep on going. All right. So that was just showing you an example of a module in Canvas. So really easy to build. I'm going to go back and show you how we could do this. This is just another example of a resource that I put in here. I wanted to give some options and variety. And here's an assignment in Canvas. So building an assignment in Canvas is super easy to do, and I will show you how to do that. So if I go back to my subject here, that module that we were just looking at was this endangered species one. And to start building this, a lot of the items that I've built here, you can quickly tell what they are, what different types of Canvas resources or media they are by these icons. And if I hover over, it tells you. So I built out this module with a lot of pages. Pages are really a one-way communication tool where the teacher can share information to the students with links, videos, pictures, all types of Google content. But the student can't turn anything into a page. It's really a jumping off point for students to go elsewhere and to use as a learning resource. So that e-learning page we built a few minutes ago, your home page, are all examples of pages in Canvas. So that's what this little intro page was, this video where I had put stuff about animal habitats. If I hover over this, that's what these pages are. So I just kind of broke this up like so. All right, so lots and lots of pages here for students to pick from. And I tried to give some options here where students could read, watch, listen, or view in the spirit of UDL. And then the next part are more of the two-way type of interaction tools in Canvas. So these are assignments and quizzes where students actively do something and turn something into you so you can assess it and give some feedback. So maybe on an e-learning day, you want students to turn something into you on Canvas so that you can have something to assess, and it might make it easier to kind of count their mastery of that goal, or that they tried to reach the learning objectives for attendance purposes. So the ways that you can do that in Canvas are plentiful. There's the assignment tool. So if I hover over this, it's what this icon is, and it will tell you this is an assignment. And then the other one that you can use is the quiz tool. So that's this little like space rocket ship looking one as well. Okay. So if I wanted to start building this module or to add anything to it, if I'm starting from scratch, again, I just click this plus module button to start building. And then adding things to modules, I can do it in a couple of different ways. If I like to build as I go, then I can certainly do that. So I click plus, then say if I want to add another page under this module, maybe to explain or to summarize the different animal habitats that we're learning about, I can click create page, and then I can call it summary. And then I'll just click add item. Okay, it's going to add it here at the bottom because we just added that. But here we go. So it made that page for me. Now that page isn't finished. I would have to click this to go into this page. It's going to look very, very blank. But there we go. I can start editing, make it beautiful, do all these different things should I need to. So I'm going to go back to where we just were. Okay. So that's how I can start adding pages. If I've already built out some content in my Canvas course as well, let's say I worked ahead and I built a bunch of pages and now I just want to put it all together in a module. The other thing I can do is click this plus button and then I can select page and then select from the existing list of items or things that I've already built because it will show everything you have on here. If I wanted to add an assignment into this module and start building a new assignment, I can click the plus button and do assignment, and then I'll click create assignment. So I'm just going to go through and show you some examples of this so that you can see how to build an assignment. I always like to indent assignments so they kind of stand out visually to the student when they look at the module, but that's just personal preference. You do not have to do that. So I'll click add item. And just so you know, whenever something is added into a module in Canvas, by default, it's always set to unpublished. So I can individually go and publish those things. Otherwise, I can come up here and publish module in all items or unpublish everything from that menu. Okay. So let's say this is this new assignment that I want to start building. Okay. And if I didn't want to build my assignment within a module, I can always click to manage subject button at the top of my screen and then click assignments. And if this view ever goes away, if I click these lines, then it opens that course menu there for me. Okay. So building an assignment in Canvas is pretty easy, and really you can build out almost an entire lesson in a Canvas assignment because you have so much flexibility in how to do this. So you'll have to give it a name and you'll want to make sure it's published at the end. But I have this toolbar here of all of these different options and pieces if I want to include them. So I can type out instructions for students. I can add pictures, record audio and video, upload files if I need to. I can make icons if I wanted. I can upload Google Drive. I can pull in YouTube videos. There's even more extensions and tools. If I like to use Canva and I make some designs, I can also add in those. So super easy to do. But what I want to do next is whenever I make up this assignment, I add my instructions and pieces there. This is where you have some different settings than what we had on eLearning. So I can decide the number of points. So up to you and what you want that to be. And then for the submission type, here is where you'll have some flexibility. So with this being an eLearning day example, an eLearning lesson, you'll want to do online. And then I have some flexibility. So the only thing that I will say is a little misleading here is where it says text entry. That makes it sound like the only thing that students can do for their submission type is type out a text response, and that is not the case. So text entry actually gives students this whole toolbar like what we have. So if you really want to give students options, then click text entry and they have pictures, they can record media, they have Google, they can embed, they can do anything that they want to. So that's why I really, really like saying text entry is a good option. If you want to click all of these buttons, that's perfectly fine. You can do that. The way it will present itself to students is that when they go to answer this assignment, it's just going to show different tabs of the entry types that they can do. And this is consistent if students are using a mobile phone, iPad, Chromebook, whatever they would like to use. So I will show you that to you in student view quickly so you can see what your preference might be. What's really cool is if you want to do student annotation, then this is really great. I'm thinking of some of our primary grade teachers. If you have a PDF where you want students to circle parts of it or annotate something, this student annotation one is great. What it will do is allow the students to get a copy of a file that you have created, and then they can circle, they can draw on it, and then that's what they turn in. They don't have to download anything. It just stays on their screen. They circle and they write all over it. The only file types that you can put here for students to annotate and to mark up, though, they have to be in PDF, document, or PowerPoint file. You can't select a Google file from here, but you could technically convert a Google file to where students could annotate on it and add it. So if you wanted to give that as an option for students, then you can certainly be able to do that. It will, the only thing I will say about annotation is that takes a little bit of time for students to load. So if your students have some not so great Wi-Fi connectivity, you might want to give some different options, but could be an option there. File uploads, I don't love that one for students who are working on Chromebooks, which is all of our elementary students, because it always wants to convert the files into Word documents or PowerPoint, which is not super easy for students to do. So I usually don't select file uploads, but you could do media recordings and website URL. And if you wanted to select that, you can, okay? So you can do the number of attempts you want students to do, assign it to everyone, add your due dates. All right. We're going to click save and publish. Ooh, I can't show you that one, but I will here in a second. All right. So this is what this assignment looks like. And if I want to see what it's like for students when they go to answer this assignment, I'm going to toggle into student view. So getting into student view in Canvas is super easy. I just click that button at the top of my screen. I would recommend you do this for any and all of your e-learning lessons, just so you can test drive it before students see it. And the cool thing is that you can even turn in your own assignments in Canvas with this tool. Okay, so here is what I was talking about. So whenever we set this up to where I checkbox all those different options, that my students have different ways that they can submit their work. So the text entry, like I said, the students actually have all kinds of options here to do that. For file upload, the students can add a file, they can use their webcam. There's even a Google Drive button where students can upload their Google Drive files. They'll have to grant permission and those things first. Website URL lets them paste in a website. Media lets them record and upload media. And then there's just some other bonus features on here. And a lot of these CK12 practice and Delta Math are actually more of secondary tools that we have set up for those classes that use those as curriculum resources. I have to turn it on for everyone by default, so it probably won't mean a whole lot to you. But I would say that text entry is always my favorite, just because you have all these options and it's fewer tabs here across the top for students to go through and sort through. Okay. So have that set up. This is what students would see whenever they go to answer, and they are all good to go. So I'm just going to type in my fake student response, and I'm going to submit it. And then I'm going to leave student view, and it does nice little confetti to students when they turn it in on time. Okay. And now on my teacher view, if you wanted to see, it says I have a submission. So whenever I want to go and grade this work in Canvas, there's a button called Speed Grader, and I will click Speed Grader. And this is what the student turned in, which was me, my fake student response. So I can go in. This is where I can give them a grade. I can add comments. I can reassign it to them. I can record audio and video in my response, emojis, whatever I would like. So pretty cool, nice option there. Whenever I want to move on to the next student, I can click here to see the rest of the students in my class, where I can use the arrows to toggle to those different student groups. Okay. And whenever I am finished grading this work, then I can just close that Speed Grader tab, and I'm back here where we started. So that is how you can build an assignment in Canvas. And if you really wanted to, you can make this the heart of your e-learning lesson. You can build out all of your media in the instructions for the e-learning assignment, and then maybe turning it in is how students complete their objectives for that e-learning day. Okay, so I've showed you modules, I've showed you pages, I've shown you assignments. If you have other questions, please let me know. I hope this has been helpful. And we have lots of other Canvas tutorials and trainings on my YouTube, where if you want a more focused tutorial on building modules, or not one that's so fast, or building quizzes, then you can check out my YouTube channel, and they are all there. And I have guides as well that I'm more than happy to share. So thank you.